faith when it comes to life and perseverance in general, and the love of God with him and with others. And when I really started to take ownership of that faith, I'd say is probably in high school, when I started to, I guess, take it on myself to learn more about my faith, to encounter the faith, to surround myself with people of the faith and make it my own instead of just a tradition with my family. Although, of course, it was more than that. When you're raised in a certain way, it takes until you're a little older to take ownership. So I remember going to youth group a bunch and a different conference that really taught me how to do that and how to live out my faith aside from just the family setting.
Awesome. It looks like for a few moments we lost a little bit of the audio, Anne. So if you wouldn't mind reintroducing Sean for us.
Absolutely.
It looks like we just had a little glitch out.
To everyone, my wonderful daughter, Sean DeSantis, who is a college student and a person of faith. And also she has her own business, which we're going to learn about a little bit later in the podcast, called Your Part-Time Princess. So I know that Bill said we just kind of lost a little bit of audio. So Sean, if you want to kind of reiterate a little bit of what you just said, would be a good idea.
Yeah, just about the faith, or just introducing me in general?
Yeah, just in general.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm Anne's daughter, and I was saying before this came on that it's funny doing a podcast with your mom because, of course, she knows everything I'm about to say. But I was just talking about my faith and growing up in a homeschooling environment and going to church and being taught the faith and living it out, and then taking ownership of it more so in my teens, like in high school, going to youth group and surrounding myself with people who also, oh my goodness, thought the same way. And it was really great because in your faith, when you're at home and it's something your family teaches, you go along with it, but then you can learn to really take ownership of it when you get older.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. You definitely took ownership of it, and I'm so proud of you. And I know we're on a podcast, so we won't get super personal between the two of us here. But yeah, I'm, as a mother, just very proud of how you've taken ownership of your faith. And part of Sowing Hope, I mean, our mission here at Sowing Hope Podcast is sowing hope into broken hearts. And I know that you understand that greatly. And anything else that you want to share about just your faith and your mission would be so appreciated. I know you have a lot more to share.
Yeah, of course. I really like that you say the sowing hope into broken hearts, because how much of that do we see in our society? People are broken. People are going through rough time, whether that be because of situations or their own issues or mental health problems. And I know what that's like, especially dealing with anxiety. It can get hard sometimes, but I've learned through my faith and perseverance. So my faith teaches me perseverance. I turn to God to give me perseverance to go on, even when I face anxious times. And sometimes it can be a daily battle in your mind. It can be mentally, when you're dealing with anxiety, it can be difficult. But if you turn to God, it's a whole nother story. It's like giving him all of your problems and your worries.
Yeah, that's truly amazing. And I know that at your age too, you are a college student. And I'll tell our listeners that Sean is 21 years old and a junior in college. And she has really matured so much, even since high school, I would say. Not to say that you weren't mature before, because you certainly were. But I think that you have learned so much, because she was homeschooled, as she mentioned at the very beginning of the program, from pre-K all the way through 12th grade. So going to college was, a little bit of a challenge and a little bit of a change, right? So maybe you can speak a little bit about that for us, if you would.
Yeah. So like I mentioned, high school was a time where I started learning more about the faith. And the funny thing is, when you get into your faith and you're not really challenged in it, it's different than when you get a little older and you face challenges, or you face times where you really have to rely on your faith. So you may have found this faith and really you have delved deep into it, but then only when you face the trialing times can you really learn to rely on it. And I'm still in college. I'm a senior this year. But in the beginning, it got a little bit difficult in some ways just because of my anxiety. And I had originally gone to a school that was not fit for me, and I wasn't happy in the major. So that was a trialing time. And I just remember kind of God leading me to a better situation, leading me to a better place. And through those hard times, I can look back and take the experiences for what they were, realize that I grew in perseverance, grew in strength, grew in my character. And I've also, although there were trialing times that first semester, I know that I made memories and I gained perseverance.
Yeah, so much of faith is perseverance. It's good to hear you say that. When you talk about the experience of having challenges arise for you, that's I think our society is very adversity adverse, right? We do not like to face adversity in our lives. It's just, especially young people, they run from it. They run the other direction from it. But when you're somebody who has encountered that that adversity in your life at an early age, or you begin to you then have to your faith is then challenged in those moments, right? To through that to persevere, to grow deeper in your faith, and push more into your faith versus in running away from it. And so I'm wondering if you talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you did face, in your faith life that pushed you closer, because obviously that's what happened. I mean, just the way you're talking, it's pushed you closer to faith, not necessarily away from it. We all run to, escape pain in today's society, and escape adversity, escape hardship, but that's not really Christian, is it? Right? It's not really Christian. It's all about
Amen.
embracing the cross. So talk to us a little bit about, some of those experiences for you.
Yeah. And it's interesting you mentioned how people like to kind of turn away from adversity, and what kind of a society we do live in, a society like that, where people feel uncomfortable by pain or difficult situations. And it's sad because we know in the faith life that that's something that does build our character. But looking back, when I think about this, I think of a couple specific time periods where my faith was really challenged. And I remember a very long time ago when I first was diagnosed with anxiety. I have OCD, which is obsessive compulsive disorder. And so a lot of it is just a mental battle with a lot of anxiety. And I remember that specific time at a very young age was when my faith was really challenged, because when you're so young and going through a lot of anxiety, it's challenging because you're not really sure why or what's happening. So it teaches you that there is a God. Even if you're 9 or 10 years old, I believe that there was a God and there was a reason for this. And he has pulled me out of that time and taught me so much through my struggles. And of course, when you have an anxiety disorder, all throughout your life, there are going to be trialing times. And like I mentioned, there was that first semester at college, which was another trialing time. And whenever that kind of thing comes up, I just have to rely on God. I know that there are people he put in my life to help me get through it. And although I think we live kind of in a culture where when people go through mental health problems, they turn to a lot of different things. And of course, there are so many different coping mechanisms and different therapies out there. But I think the number one thing is to turn to God, because none of those things are going to be useful to you unless you know the true source of joy and your mission. All those other things are going to be temporary.
Yes, exactly. You're exactly right. And so, what are some of the tips then you give young people to embrace that? What are some of the ways that you help them? Because I know you're a good peer leader and you help even younger kids too with your business. But how do you inspire your peers and all people to kind of move deeper into your faith versus running the opposite direction? What are some of those things that you have done to do that?
It's funny because and even more so recently, I've kind of lived under the principle of being an example in the way I conduct my life, because I think that's the best way to get through to people. If people see something that you have, whether that be faith or perseverance or just joy that comes from God, that's a lot more attractive than someone throwing a Bible in their face.
Yeah.
People want to see the effects. People want to see what it is that you have in a genuine way. And I just think it's so important for people like me or anyone to share their story, because it's a reason to turn to God, and it's a reason to have more perseverance.
Amen. And I'm so proud of you. And I know we're not making this kind of a mom-daughter cheerleader session here.
Are we though?
I'm very proud of you, and it means so much.
Thank you.
And just, you're so articulate and have done so well. And I also want to encourage moms out there, if you're a mom who's homeschooling, because some of us have been forced into, right? Some of the moms out there have been forced into homeschooling, even though they weren't necessarily signed up for it. But we were signed up for it. I mean, we did it for a long, long time. And many people said to me over the years, why did you do it? Or how did you do it? And I would say that God was the one that led the way, and it was absolutely successful. Every step of the way was successful. Now, not to say that we didn't have some bumps in the road, but both of you and your sister, Sean, I mean, I know Bill, I've told you this before too, but have done so well with college. And so homeschooling was a real big success, and we're proud of that, and also proud of you, Sean, because how wonderful it is to see you flourish right now in your life.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I can attribute a lot to homeschooling. The number one thing I attribute to homeschooling is just how much I like being home, honestly.
I know. I agree.
Other than that, I think it really taught me. I attribute wanting to be an entrepreneur and wanting to put work in myself to homeschooling, because so much of homeschooling, as much as my mom would help me and direct me with what to do, but that's what it is. It's homeschooling. It's working on your own. It teaches you something greater than just having a book thrown in front of you and being in a classroom, which of course has its time and space, and there are some amazing schools out there. But for me, learning how to learn on my own was probably one of the best things for me.
Yes, you've done amazing. So tell us about, if you could, because we're talking about your life, right? Is your college experience. You've gotten so much from that college experience so far, and involved in the choir there at school called Voices of Gwynedd. She goes to Gwynedd Mercy University. If you're from the greater Philadelphia area, it's a local university where I'm actually a graduate as well, and so proud to have gone there, and my husband too. So maybe you could talk about that experience, if you would.
Yeah, so I guess we're going to bring up the name. I go to Gwynedd Mercy University, and it's a great school. One of the things I love most about it is our choir on campus, the Voices of Gwynedd. As my mom just said, it's a great community. And like I mentioned earlier, theater is a big passion of mine, so is singing. So when I came to this school, although I changed my major, I wanted to still be in a musical community. And I found about the Voices of Gwynedd, and it has been amazing. It has been a great source of friendship and community, and a big passion of mine. I'm able to sing again, which has been amazing. And I'm a firm believer that God leads you to where you're supposed to be in life. So while I did spend that one semester at another school, I know that where I am now